All right, so here's my question. Have you ever made life more complicated than it needed to be? And would you be willing to simplify your life? You know, I've been doing this series of talks on finding. I began with finding power and finding peace and finding beauty. And today I want to talk about finding simplicity. Because I think that as part of our soul's journey, we tend to make things more complicated than they need to be. You know, as young people, we tend to have a lot of things we think we have to do, and it has to be done like this. And then as we get more mature, and I'm using that word, more mature, the idea is that we're really supposed to simplify our life. And sometimes that's a challenge. Like, would you wear the same clothes day after day after day? Like some of us would. I would love it, right? If I could wear the same outfit day after day, I would. I'd pull a Mark Zuckerberg. I would. You know, Mark Zuckerberg wears the same T-shirt and jeans and hoodie. Now, I probably wouldn't wear that outfit, but there's a whole lot of successful people that have decided to simplify their life. They're going to wear the same outfit day after day after day because it's just easier. Barack Obama either wore a dark blue suit or a dark gray suit because he just didn't want to have to make that decision. Two things when he went into the White House. He wasn't going to decide on what he was going to wear or what he was going to eat. He had to make so many decisions every day that those two things were off the table. Simon Cowell, America's Got Talent, right? Wears pretty much the same outfit. Tom Ford, the fashion designer, always wears his own suit. Armani doesn't wear one of his suits. He just wears a blue slacks and a blue cashmere sweater every day. Michael Kors, the other designer, black suit, black T-shirt, black sunglasses. The Dalai Lama, same outfit every day. Right? And what I want you to see today is that sometimes life can be far simpler than we're making it. And we think we have to do all these things, but then the question becomes, do we really? Do we really have to do all these things? You know, what they found is 8 reasons why successful people decide to wear the same outfit, their uniform. They found it's fewer decisions, it takes less wasted time, less stress, less wasted energy, less feeling that they're working to put things together, and it becomes iconic, and it's actually less expensive. And it's like, well, but Richard, what will people say if I wear the same outfit every day? Like, I get enough comments on my clothes, right? My shoes, my clothes, my suit. People, should I wear jeans? Should I not wear jeans? Can I wear jeans on a Sunday morning? Can I not wear jeans on a Sunday morning? Like, there's a lot of conversations about what we wear. People think that they can share and comment about that stuff. And the question then becomes, is that necessary? Like, do your clothes define you? Well, we got one honest lady in the second row, right? And I just want you to see today that I think there's a simpler path. And the simple path is deciding how much complexity do you need to live your life, and how simple are you willing to make it? Because the reality is, I think most things could be far simpler than we allow for, and that there's a reason why spiritual people have picked the same outfit over and over again. There's a reason that the Dalai Lama wears the same robe. I mean, not the same one, but the same look, right? Over and over again, because that's one less decision he has to make. In our busy lives, how simple are you willing for your life to be so that you can focus more and more on the things that are the most important to you. Now, if clothes really are the most important thing in your day, then go at it. Like enjoy it. Wear whatever you want. Have fun with it, right? But if it's not the most important thing in your day, then what if we just take that off the table and you can actually begin to focus on the things that are the most important to you, right? Oscar Wilde said, I have a simple taste. I am always satisfied with the best. Now you think, well, that's kind of arrogant. But Jesus wore a seamless robe. Like Jesus' seamless robe in Jesus' day was the Armani suit of our day. There was no seams. It was woven in one piece for the person that was wearing it. It was a big deal, right? So that as we focus on what's the best for us, it doesn't have to be a place of depriving ourselves. I believe that it's really about freeing ourselves to really focus on the things that matter the most. Albert Einstein said this: there are 3 rules of work. Out of clutter, find simplicity. Out of discord, find harmony. In the middle of difficulties lies opportunities. And I want us to see that one of the things that sometimes can happen in a church is that we keep doing things because they once worked. And we do them year after year after year, even though they really aren't working like they once did. But we do them because why? We always have, right? And that's the mindset. Well, we used to do it. We should do it. We've always done it. We've always done it that way. Have you ever heard yourself say that? We've always done it that way. And yet part of our spiritual journey needs to be a paring away of all those things that are unnecessary, that aren't fulfilling us, that aren't really bringing spark or joy or peace or love to our life, because we only get so much time here. And if we only get so many moments to enjoy, how do you want to spend your time and your energy every day? Because you get to decide. No one else decides that for you. You absolutely get to decide how you spend your day. And what is the most beneficial, the most meaningful, the most powerful, the most profound way that you get to spend today? And I want you just to remove everything that's getting in the way of you living your best life. Because I believe as a soul, there's really only one thing we want. See, our ego tells us we should want more and more and more of everything, right? Of this, of that, of everything. We should want more of this, more of that. We should be constantly adding to our life. But the real spiritual process is a process of subtraction, right? If you want to be happier, subtract all the thoughts and worries and judgments that keep you unhappy. That the way to happiness isn't getting more of what you want. It's actually removing all the things that you don't want. It's actually clearing your mind from all the busyness, and you find that you're just naturally happier. If you want more love in your life, remove all the judgments. If you want more peace in your life, remove all the worries. If you want to be more successful, remove the self-doubt. The spiritual life is the life of subtraction. Because as we subtract, we find that what we need most, what we long for most, is God. That God is the thing that we hunger for the most in our life. So here's some things I want you to look at, right? The first one is, I want you to see in your living space, is there more clutter than you need? Oh gosh, Richard, don't go there, right? Right? Is there more stuff in your space than you actually need? And what would happen if you actually decluttered your life, your home, your space, and let go of all the things that aren't serving you, all the things that you don't need, all the things you don't use, all the things that are just taking up space that you have to dust or clean or look at, and find that as you declutter, then you actually have more energy to live your life. First one is, I want you to look at ways that you could declutter your living space. Second one is, I want to make sure that you prioritize the things that are the most important to you. Activities. How do you want to spend your day? What are your values? What are the things that really are the most meaningful for you? When you take away all the clutter in your life, you actually have time for a deeper life, for the activities, but it requires that we are able to say no. Does anybody have a problem saying no? No. No, right? Because all we get is yes and no. Yes and no are the only two ways that we create our life. What we say yes to and what we say no to are literally the only ways that we create our life. That when we say yes to clutter, when we say yes to things we don't want to say yes to, because we don't think we can say no, we actually fill our lives with stuff that's not meaningful, that's not important, that's not soul satisfying. So we have to know what we want, and then we have to be able to say yes and no to the most important things. 3, simplify your schedule. Like in every day, you only get 24 hours. So what do you want to be doing this day to move your life forward? 4, reduce screen time. Less computer time, less phone time, less television time, less screen time. 5, practice peace. We talked about that last week. Practice peace. Pay attention to your thoughts, your emotions, your physical sensations, and practice peace. Simplify your finances. Create a budget. Prioritize your spending. Avoid unnecessary expenses. My wife this year has put us on a budget. Ask me how excited I was about that. Ask me how resistant I was to that. Right? We are now, 5 months in? I love it. I haven't had an allowance since I was about 14, right? I now happily have an allowance, right? And that my allowance, I can spend it any way I want. But our financial picture looks different because we have a budget. Because one of us realized that the other one of us was a bit of a spender, right? And now that I have my allowance, I can spend it on anything I want, but I only get my allowance. And I'm watching as we make different choices, it creates a different outcome. Like, yes, I could, enough. Simplify your finances. 7, spend time in nature. If you want to simplify your life, feed your soul what it wants, and that, for most of us, is a greater experience of God. See, I think what happens as we mature spiritually, I think what happens is 3 things that I think every great spiritual teacher teaches. And the first thing that happens is that there's a point in your spiritual life where you just want to do the will of God. In the beginning, that's not the case, right? In the beginning, you just want to do your will. You want to do whatever you want to do. You want to go out and have fun. You want to party. You want to do whatever you want. And that's kind of a young person's game. But there's a point, I believe, in our spiritual evolution where all we want to do at some point is the will of God because it just feels better. It feels more rewarding. It feels more soul satisfying. So there's a point where all the busyness, all the superficial stuff, there's a point where we begin to remove the stuff that isn't soul satisfying, and we just want to do the will of God. And then we begin to see that not only do we have physical senses, but we have spiritual senses. That each one of us is connected spiritually through these spiritual senses to the way that God communicates to us, with us, through us. Like some of us have the spiritual sense of touch, spiritual feeling, right? And just like it's a physical sense, it's also a spiritual sense. So when we have the gift of spiritual feeling, then we get gut feelings. How many of you know that your dominant spiritual sense is that you have feelings, you have gut feelings, you just know when God is guiding you towards something great? How many of you, your dominant spiritual sense is sight? Maybe you see things, you see possibilities, you see visions. This is a lesser one, but how many of you see things? You see possibilities that other people don't see, right? 3, hearing. Some of us actually feel like we hear the activity of God. It almost feels like it's actually a voice being spoken within us. How many have that as a dominant spiritual sense? Great. What about taste? Now, taste is a hard one because taste is about discerning spiritual things, and taste and smell, just like they're very linked in your physical senses, they're very linked in the spiritual sense. And if you have the gift of spiritual taste, you have an ability to discern the goodness of God. You discern things of spirit, and the smell is discerning the things of the world. So taste is discerning the spiritual world. Smell is discerning the physical world. How many of you heard the expression, it smells like a rat? Or right? And that's a spiritual sense. And what I want you to see today is that to simplify our life, we have to decide what the most important thing is. And there's a point in our spiritual journey when God becomes the most important thing. And so then we just want to know what the will of God is for our life. And that once we feel guided and directed, then our choice is to say yes to that, to act from that, to put that into motion, to actually allow ourselves to have the faith to act. And then we give thanks. We give thanks for the guidance, we give thanks for the process, and we begin to look at the process to see how it at work. Like, we felt guided, we put it into action, and then we look at what happened. And we see over and over again as we listen, as we act, and as we review and give thanks, it actually builds our faith. It actually simplifies our life so that every day we wake up and just ask for the will of God to be made manifest in our life, and then allow God to lead us and guide us and teach us and move us forward in the greatest possible way. That today, this week, you ready for your homework? No, I get it. This week, I'm going to invite you to look at 2 or 3 ways that you could simplify your life. And maybe this week, what you want to do is remove some of the clutter. Maybe not from your whole house. Maybe you just empty out a junk drawer. Does everybody have at least one junk drawer in their house? Right? Maybe you clean out a closet. Maybe you simplify your wardrobe. But look for 1 or 2 ways to declutter your life. Or maybe what you do is decide that you really want to put God first in your life. And that every day you wake up and you just ask to be guided, to be led, to God to use you in the greatest good. Or maybe this week you just let your soul rest in the nature and go for a hike or a walk and feel the presence of God. Or maybe this week, to simplify your life, you practice saying no. Like you recall forth your inner 3-year-old. And no matter what anybody asks, unless it's the church, you say no. Right? So whatever it is, you just practice saying no. No, no, no. Let's affirm that together. No, 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 no. Right? And I want you to feel there's a level of joy in saying no. It actually makes most of us smile because at some part of us, we don't believe that we have the right to say no. But to simplify our lives, we have to be able to say no, unless it's to the church. Did everybody hear me clearly say that, right? Right? So over and over again, what I want you to see is that you get to design your life any way you want. You get to design a life that's cumbersome, that's busy, that's overwhelming, that's exhausting. You get to design your life where you're just running from thing to thing to thing. Or you get to design a life that has peace, that is simple, that has room for God, that has room to feed your soul. You get to decide. You get to decide how much clutter, mentally, emotionally, physically, fills your space. And the more that we empty our life, the more we subtract, I believe that the more room there is for God. Will you pray with me? I invite you to open your mind, your heart, your soul to the activity of God that is right here, right now. That there is a greater life available to each and every one of us. A life filled with greater joy and peace and laughter and goodness. A life that is simple, that is God-given and God-directed. And today we make the choice to simplify our life, to say no to those things that no longer serve us, to make new choices that actually bless us and fulfill the work that we are here to do in the world. Holy Spirit, help me simplify my life. Help me live a God-focused life. Help me be an instrument for peace. So in the name and through the power of the living Christ, we give thanks. And so it is. Amen.